Don't get rid of your Glock. You pay 500 bucks for a gun, the sight pops out, it's not a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. The front sight should not pop out of the gun, and it did. The GunTubers are lying to you. This video might make some of you mad, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear as opposed to what you think you might want to hear.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
You may have seen a couple videos out there that say, the world is getting rid of their Glock. But before you get rid of your Glock, watch the rest of this video. So if this video makes you mad, let me know in the comments. If this video already confirms what you know about Glock, let me know in the comments. And by the way, if you want to support this channel or you're looking for this cool t-shirt, you can get it right here or down in the description below. We appreciate your support. Supporting channels like this help bolster the Second Amendment in America. All right, so is the world getting rid of their Glocks? That's what some GunTubers would have you believe. But really, it's just clickbait. All right, so these are the arguments in those videos, and I just want to go ahead and get right into them. So the first argument is Glock is bigger than what you need for concealed carry, and the micro compact gun market has now made the Glock obsolete, has made all the Glocks obsolete because they're too big, and guns like the P365 micro compact by Sig Sauer has, just made Glock obsolete. Well, let's consider that argument for a minute. I'm a Glock guy. I've departed from Glock one time before. That was with the Springfield XDS, the 45 model that came out years ago, and I paid the price for that. I didn't run 500 rounds through that gun. I only ran a handful of magazines through that gun, thought it was good to go, and it had a safety recall. It was actually double striking, had some weird crunching going on with the trigger. I ended up sending that gun back on the recall to Springfield. They fixed it, sent it back to me, but I was done at that point, very uncomfortable carrying it from that point on, and so I didn't carry it. I sold it with the knowledge that that gun had a safety recall and got rid of it, and I went back to Glock again. That was when I had originally I had a Glock 26 that I was carrying at the time. Now fast forward to present day and to the Sig Sauer P365, and this gun has piqued my interest since the day it came out. And people have raved about it since 2018. So I picked one up not too long ago, and I wanted to like it. I wanted to like everything about it. In fact, looking at it, I did like everything about it, especially the feel in my hand. And then I noticed some things on the range, and then I had to call Sig Sauer, and I'm going to get into that in a minute of what I actually had to call them about. But I proceeded to put 500 rounds through this little gun. And I can't show you right now, but I shoved it back in, but the front sight just popped out of the gun, the little element in the front sight. Front sight is dislodging, or I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know if it's a factory sight, or I guess it is. I can't read that on there. Yeah, no big deal, right? You pay 500 bucks for a gun, the sight pops out, it's not a big deal. Yeah, it's a big deal. The front sight should not pop out of the gun, and it did. But that was the least of my troubles. I didn't get to 500 rounds. Inside of 300 rounds, I kept having the slide lock back. And I had 18 slide locks with rounds still in the magazine inside of 300 rounds. But not only that, I had light primer strike after light primer strike. Inside of 200 rounds, I had 4 light primer strikes, and the round didn't go off. Okay, no issues with that mag. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, as you can see. Bonafide slide lock. And look, you just chamber it, fixes it, goes right back into battery. All right. Don't know what happened there. Let's see. And for the camera's sake, you can see that. Light strike. That's no good to save your life. That's 3 inside of 300 rounds. Not sure what's going on. I'm gonna call Sig and see if this is an issue. There we go again. Another light strike. It was not the ammunition. I put the ammunition into a Glock, the misfired ammunition, and the Glock fired all 4 rounds, no problem at all. I'm gonna try something. I put the 4 light strikes from the P365 into a magazine. Just want to see if it was the gun. The Glock shoots all 4 of them that the SIG light striked. Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. So I called Sig Sauer and I explained to them the issues that I was having with the P365. And here's what they told me. I got the nicest of customer service agents. Not really. I think they're on the defensive because of the big lawsuit over the SIG P320. You can look that up on your own. I don't have a link to it or anything like that. But just talk to the customer service guy. I said, hey, I had light primer strikes and the slide is locking back. And he said, oh, you're riding the slide. In other words, you don't know how to grip the gun. And so what he was saying was, as I was gripping the gun, my thumb was touching the slide there, causing the slide to lock back and then causing too much friction on the slide and not going, causing the slide not to go fully into battery and causing light primer strikes. I told the guy that I verified all that before I called them, and he said, well, it must be the ammunition. Is your ammunition SAMI ammunition? And I told him I shot both cheap ammunition and then I shot Winchester ammunition through it also. And he said the Winchester should be no problem. The other one might be a problem, but I experienced the same thing with both ammunitions. Then he proceeded to ask me, did I clean the gun? And I said, no, I had the factory lubrication in it. And so I proceeded to shoot the gun like I do all my other guns. I didn't clean the gun before I shoot it because it's brand new, it's test fired. And he said that's a preservative lubrication put in there, and he strongly suggested that I clean the gun and then go back to the range and try it again. All that said, great. If that was all true, I don't want a temperamental gun. I don't want a gun that I can't accidentally touch the slide. I don't want a gun that won't feed every ammunition out on the market that can be put through it. And I definitely don't want a gun that I have to meticulously clean and baby it to get it to actually cycle and fire. And my first thought on all those, I didn't say it to the guy, I probably should have, was my Glock doesn't do that. My Glock doesn't do that, and my Glock doesn't do that. I don't clean my Glocks. You might be a guy that owns Glocks and cleans your Glocks. I don't clean them. I oil them a little bit, but honestly, I don't clean them. I think I've cleaned 2 of my 8 Glocks in maybe 10 years. Maybe. But I just don't clean them. Because you don't have to. It's a Glock. So, at any rate, let's put all that aside. Say I was not gripping the gun properly. Let's say it was the oil. Let's say it was all that. Here's the thing. When you get into the micro-compact world, Glock knows something that SIG obviously doesn't know and that they didn't take into consideration. And that's real estate for your non-dominant hand. Look at my hand on that. I'm 5'10", 170 pounds. I have medium-sized hands. This gun is designed for somebody with small hands. If you have small hands, great. This gun might be for you if it works correctly. This gun is not for me. And it's not for most men my size and above. And the reason why is you can't get a proper firing grip on this gun without compromising your grip in some manner. So now let's look at the Glock 43X MOS. This is my daily carry now. Or we could look at the Glock 26 in comparison, which I daily carried for many years until I switched over to the Glock 19, and now I'm making the switch currently to the Glock 43X MOS. But there's a big difference here. There's not a big difference in gun size overall. In fact, there's only a 2-ounce difference loaded between the Glock 26 and the SIG P365. And you'll notice there's not much a difference at all in the overall size of the gun. If you can carry this gun, you can carry this gun. This gun may not work. This gun will always work. And so notice the difference right off in the real estate of the gun. You can actually get a proper firing grip with the Glock 26. Glock 43X MOS. You can actually get a proper firing grip. There's enough real estate for the pad of your non-dominant hand to fit in there, for your thumbs to lay down on each other, and for you to get a proper firing grip. SIG P365, can you get a proper firing grip? Look at my fingers almost touch the pad of my hand because this grip has been whittled down. Is it comfortable? It feels comfortable. But when I try to lock that hand in there, I'm forced not to. It doesn't make contact. It makes contact with my fingers, makes contact with the other pad of my hand, but it doesn't make contact with the gun. And so now you're compromising your lateral pressure and thereby compromising front to back pressure. And so you're not getting a full firing grip. Not to mention, my medium-sized hands, they swallow up. So could I have been riding the slide? Very doubtful that I was. But if I did, should the gun still fire? Well, I don't know. Have I ever, in the tens of thousands of rounds I fired through a Glock, have I ever touched the slide? Never had it malfunction, not a single time. So my point is, this is not the gun for me or anybody without small hands, because you can't get a proper firing grip on the gun. And thereby, you're not going to be as accurate, you're not going to have as stable a shooting platform as you should have. And so, hey, I'll wipe the record clean and say, hey, the malfunctions never happened. It's just not the gun for me because it's too small. So the micro compact argument, that doesn't fit the bill for getting rid of a Glock. You know, maybe Glock knows something that SIG doesn't, and that's that you need a little bit of real estate in your hand to control the gun. So now, that was my experience with the 365. All things the same, my carry gun, basically the same width, the 43X MOS and the P365, a little bit longer, as you can see, on the 43X MOS, and a little bit longer in the grip. But if you can carry this gun, you can carry this gun. The difference is this gun is going to go off. And now enter Shield Arms magazines. I take 10 rounds and I up it to 15 rounds. Put 500 rounds through those without a hiccup at all. And now I can carry a 20-round spare mag from Shield Arms with the extension on a 5-round extension. 15 5-round extension. And now I have 36 rounds with one in the chamber at my disposal with a Glock 43X MOS as my daily concealed carry. So the argument that people are getting rid of their Glocks because they're not small enough or they're too big, that is an argument from ignorance, and I don't say that meanly. That's an argument from not having the knowledge of how to properly handle and fire a gun. And so do yourself due diligence before you go jump into the micro compact market and get a gun that you can't shoot or can't control. Figure out what size your hand is. Make sure it fits the gun. Make sure you know how to use a proper firing grip on the gun, and you can actually obtain that on the gun that you're going to buy. And if you have a gun now that you can't do that on, get rid of it and get a gun that you can. And then reliability. Let's say I did experience those, and that tons of other people experienced the front sight popping off, slide lock happening without riding the slide in the middle of a magazine, and light primer strikes, and a host of other issues with the SIG P365 platform. Then it's not a reliable gun. I've had one issue with all the Glocks that I've ever had in my life, and it was the Glock 26 Gen 4. It had some light ejections that was a fault of the recoil spring, and it was not ejecting the cartridge far enough. I never actually had a failure to feed, and I never had a stovepipe issue with it. You know what? Glock did the recall. I got the new recoil spring, put it in, and I've never had an issue, and I've fired thousands upon thousands of rounds through this Glock 26 Gen 4. If you haven't seen my video on the Glock 26 concealed carry gun review, you can check that out. The link is in the description below. So that's argument number one. On to argument number two, why the world is supposedly getting rid of their Glocks. So the second argument goes like this. I bought the Glock and I didn't realize it didn't have a safety. Or, to be more specific, I didn't realize it had an external safety, which is still wrong. It both has safeties and an external safety as well. But the argument from the GunTubers say that makes the purchaser feel like they're not safe carrying the Glock, and that most accidental discharges happen when someone's carrying a Glock because of the lack of the safeties incorporated into the gun. That's just a joke. All accidental discharges, except for Sig Sauer P320s and the lawsuit going on right now, which is terrible. I shouldn't even laugh about it. but all accidental or negligent discharges are caused by a manufacturer's defect, malfunction in the gun, or negligence on the part of the gun owner, not following the gun safety rules. Primarily, keep your finger off the trigger until you're actually ready to fire the gun, your target is in view, and you verified what's beyond the target, and you're willing to destroy the target which you've set your sights on. Glock is designed with a safe action system, and I want to talk about that for all you new gun owners out there, and maybe you Glock owners who are hesitant to carry the gun, maybe with one in the chamber, or you're hesitant to carry a Glock at all because you think it's unsafe in some manner. First of all, know the rules of gun safety and practice them. And if you don't know the rules of gun safety, I'm going to put them in the description below. For the sake of brevity, I'm not going to go through them in this video. But keep your finger off the trigger, and that'll solve 99.9% of your problems with gun safety. That's enough said about that. Like I said, I'll put the 4 rules of gun safety in the description below. But let's talk about the Glock safe action trigger system. Everybody is trying to mimic the safe action system. If you'll notice in all the new polymer striker fired guns out on the market, they are mimicking the Glock system because it is so effective. 65% of law enforcement around the world use a Glock in the line of duty. If the guns were unsafe and unfit to carry, you would not have those astounding numbers over time. And that's been going on for a long, long time, since the inception of Glock. So Glock has a trigger safety, a firing pin safety, and a drop safety. The trigger safety is the first safety in the firing sequence. It's incorporated into the trigger in the form of that little lever that you see on the trigger, and it blocks the trigger from being moved rearward unless that little lever is pushed evenly with the trigger. So to fire a Glock pistol, the trigger safety and the trigger have to be deliberately pressed simultaneously to get that gun to fire. If the trigger safety is not depressed, that trigger will not move rearward, and consequently the gun will not fire. So that's safety number 1, and that is an external safety. The second safety present on Glock pistols is internal, and that is the firing pin safety. The firing pin safety mechanically blocks the firing pin from moving forward in the firing sequence while the gun is in the ready to fire condition. So as you pull the trigger to the rear, the trigger bar pushes the firing pin safety up and frees the firing pin channel. If you decide not to fire and release the trigger, the firing pin safety automatically re-engages. And then third, we have the drop safety. This final safety involves the trigger bar, which rests on the safety ramp within the trigger mechanism housing. The trigger bar engages the rear portion of the firing pin and prevents the firing pin from moving forward. As the trigger is pulled rearward, the trigger bar lowers down the safety ramp and allows the release of the firing pin. After firing, the trigger bar moves upward and re-engages the firing pin. As the trigger is released, all safeties automatically re-engage. And that is the Glock safe action system. It provides a consistent trigger pull from the first round to the last round. The biggest thing about it is this safe, simple, and fast system allows you to concentrate on operating the gun under duress. In a critical dynamic incident, you don't have any other levers that you have to mess with or fool with, but you just actually use the gun the way a gun was designed to be used. Fast, accurately, and reliably. So for the couple people out there that got rid of their Glocks because they feel like it's unsafe, if you just do your due diligence and look at the safety system designed into Glock, you'll find it is one of the safest handguns on the market. And then the third argument that the GunTubers put out there for getting rid of the Glock, or saying the world is getting rid of their Glock in comparison to other guns, is they combine the first two that we talked about. They say it's not safe and comfortable to carry a Glock as compared to other guns on the market. And again, that just doesn't pan out with real world statistics or measurements or anything like that. If you take these two guns, just take the Glock 26. We don't even have to go fast forward into the Glock 43 or 43X MOS, but I will. Just take that compared to SIG P365 if SIG is running the micro compact market. And there's a 2-ounce difference between these guns loaded. There is probably 3/4 of an inch difference in the length of this gun. There is no difference in the handles of these guns, as you can see. A little bit of thickness in the Glock 26. difference, but if you can carry this gun, you can carry this gun all day. But as I stated before, this gun may not go bang when you need it to, and this one will go bang every time you need it to. So, you be the judge of that. Again, I know it might make some of you mad. If you have a SIG P365, you've put 500 rounds through it, it's reliable when you carry it and you love it, let me know in the comments. If you're still carrying the OG Glock 26, let me know in the comments. It's one of my favorite concealed carry guns ever, of all time. So after answering those arguments, if you're still in doubt of why you should own a Glock, and if you own a Glock, you should keep that Glock and not sell it, and that the world is not getting rid of their Glocks, let me throw some other things at you about Glock pistols. Simplicity of design. It only has 34 moving parts. Compare that to any of the other guns out on the market, and you're going to find a super simple gun to operate. You're going to find a super comfortable gun to carry because it doesn't have all the bumps. It doesn't have all the switches and levers and horns on it. Take it through a 1,000 round or 2,000 round concealed carry class or pistol class, and then look at your hands afterwards with another gun compared to a Glock. Carry it all day, every day, and have it up against your body all day long, and compare the smooth features of a Glock to other guns out on the market with switches and cylinders and levers and all these other things poking out of it, and you'll be glad you have a Glock. So simplicity in design, simplicity in carrying it, and simplicity in operating it. 34 moving parts mean less parts to go bad, less parts to malfunction, and it has proven it over time reliable again and again and again. And then I'll throw in with that interchangeable parts. You can find every part you ever wanted to find out on the market. And you know what? If you start thinking, hey, there's a shortcoming in my Glock 43X MOS because it can only carry 10 rounds, although I would argue 10 rounds is sufficient for a carry gun and a 10-round extra magazine is sufficient for a carry gun. But enter the aftermarket Shield Arms magazine 15 rounds. Because it's Glock, everybody wants it. You can have companies like that and thousands of companies like that that make parts for them. From sights to triggers, magazines, to barrels and slides and sights and the whole 9 yards, everything is available out there because Glock is the king of the market. And so just another reason to go get a Glock, because if you don't like something about it, you can change it in an instant. If something breaks, you can change it in an instant. If you just want to tweak it a little bit, you can change it in an instant, and you have the world of choice out there with all the different aftermarket accessories and manufacturers that cater to the world's most popular pistol platform that has ever been designed. And then going along with that, what about engineering? You know, these Glock pistols have been torture test upon torture test. They have a different polymer. They have different mechanical parts set apart from all the other lookalikes out there that make this thing torture test proof. Just go YouTube it and see, Google it and see torture test Glock and see people have frozen these. They have left them out for weeks at a time, months at a time, I think. They have run them over with vehicles. They have shot them with other guns. They have done all kinds of torture tests to the Glock platform. And again, it proves reliable again and again and again and again. I couldn't, again, my personal experience, take a SIG P365 straight out of the box, not torture it at all, but baby it, and couldn't get it to function properly. That says a lot to me in my real world scenario about Glock. So durability is just another reason, and I could go on and on and on and on, but you get the point. The world is not getting rid of their Glocks. If you don't own one, I would strongly suggest you consider it if you're considering buying a pistol. If you already own one, don't get rid of it because you'll regret it in the future. So again, if you want one of these cool t-shirts, it is down in the description below, or you can check it out in the card above. As always, I'd like to thank you for making the choice to defend yourself and those you love. Thank you for watching this video, and God bless you and yours.